So I don't know how many times I've read a particular passage about Jesus and his relationships to kids. I know I love kids, and they're very unpredictable. There's no telling what they'll say. Who was it? One guy said, kids say the darndest thing. I cannot imagine kids being that much different in Jesus' day than there was with us. And so one day you will find that Jesus had an interaction with a whole bunch of kids. And as a result of that, there's some great truths that come out of it about us, not about kids. Let me just read this. This is from Matthew chapter 18. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and they said, so who is greatest in the kingdom? And he called a child and had him stand among him. And he said, truly, I tell you, unless you become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child, this is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. You know, there's several things that pop out just real briefly in this particular passage of Scripture. I love this one, and there's another reference to Jesus one time when the disciples got on to the parents and the kids because they were probably just climbing all over Jesus. Jesus loved kids. He loved our babies. And you ever wonder why he said for us to get to heaven, we've got to become like a child? I think there's three basic reasons. Number one, kids are very vulnerable. And with that vulnerability comes a lot of transparency. You know, I mean, when my grandkids, of course, we've already raised 3 kids, but when my grandkids get a little uncomfortable, a little hurt, they just tell you about it. When they got to go to the bathroom, if you can't catch them before they poop on the back porch, they gotta, they're just very honest about it. And I think what Jesus was saying that day is very clear, that at some point in time of our life, whether we are made to become vulnerable by circumstances or we choose to become transparent and vulnerable with Jesus, until we do that, it's going to be very hard to connect with Jesus. Second thing is there was kids are very literal. I don't know if you know that. When you tell them, I think your grandmother is going to beat me, well, what they do is they take that literally, and you have to go back and explain. What literal means in this particular thing is Jesus needs you to take him at his word. You want a relationship with him? You want to live in heaven forever? We've got to take him at his word. And most especially when it comes to the last day of Jesus' life, when they put him in that tomb and 3 days later he rose physically and bodily. I believe that literally. And I didn't always. I had to become like a child and just do the third, which is the third thing, leads me to my third observation, is kids just trust. Now, different kids have different trust levels. I had 3 kids. All 3 of my kids, I could get them on a bale of hay, a big bale of hay, and they'd jump off to me, right? One of my kids, up until I could no longer hold him in the palm of my hand, would stand in the palm of my hand, put both of his arms out in the air, completely trusting me to not drop him. And that's what Jesus said. We got to become like a child. We got to become vulnerable. We got to take him literally, and then we got to trust him. So if you haven't done that today, you can reach out to us, because the bottom line, Jesus says, I love you, but you're going to have to become like a child for me to have a relationship with me. That is the bottom line. God bless.